I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy. Think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to another episode of Tactical Awareness. We're back with Season 1, Episode 24, damn near halfway through a year of Tactical Awareness episodes, and we are starting a new series that Owen came up with. We couldn't really come up with a name for it in this, but I'm going to call it ARO Alert. It's anti-faction reviews. Something that I don't know if people have done, but instead of being a what is the strength of this faction, it's if you're playing against this faction, what do you look out for and how do you take it apart? So let's join Owen and Dan for some, I think we're talking about a chimpanzee war, and we'll get this going.
Oh man, I love that we always like open this with just loose horse shit. Makes me happy. Yeah, so chimpanzee war was where this started, and now we're gonna talk about other things.
Sky is poison and my chest hurts.
Chest hurts. So Owen and Dan are living in Blade Runner right now. It's literally orange everywhere that they go. I spent a summer in the 90s like that, so I can commiserate. It's horrifying when the forest fires are right outside of town. So if we never hear from Owen and Dan again, it's because Calgary's gone and the end times have started, and lightning strikes into the peat moss and the tundra have caused massive forest fires that have destroyed Alberta.
That's fine. I got good lungs.
Yeah, it's not Dan's first time through this. He's done this before. He knows what it's like when the world's on fire. I'm in beautiful southern Ontario, which is just sun and gorgeous right now. We got nothing going on here. There's no impending forest fire doom. So as of this recording, I am marked safe from being Albertan. So everybody,
I think Infinity should bring back full auto.
Yeah. Let's just open with a hot take. Let's bring back a modifier that nothing gets rid of. Not
Exactly.
Marksmanship, not visors. It's just suppressing in the active turn. Cause fuck you, that's why.
It's you get an extra burst and you inflict a -3 if you face to face as a BS attack.
It's basically spraying and praying from N3. This is the most useless fact for those of you listening because it has no
one guy
anything
had it.
that you do now.
One guy had it for about 20 minutes before the end of that game.
It was the
no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was the Bakun Taskmaster, wasn't it?
It was the
Kriza. Yeah, the other size 5 guy. That's right. Yeah,
and
I get
so
them mixed up because
you'd put him on suppression and he'd be -9 to shoot at with no way to get around it.
No, because only when he active turned you.
No, it wasn't. Not for the
-3.
active
turn.
You only got the extra burst during the active turn. The mod was any time he did a BS attack as
that was face to face. Oh,
that was
maybe
face to face.
Yeah.
So he had mimetism.
Right, but
he had cover.
You sound
suppression.
sure.
I brought them for that sole reason.
Right.
There were some interactions about whether or not he got the +1 burst in ARO because
he didn't have mimetism. That's right. He did not have mimetism.
Yeah.
Now it's mimetism.
Yeah, because they gave him +1 BS and mimetism, which is like, oh look, it's the same thing, and it's like it's not the same thing. It's
visors. Stop it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now it's gotta.
And they hand out visors like candy in this game now.
They don't hand them like a candy, but they
definitely
exist. No, there's just more profiles, so it feels like it. There's more profiles exist now than used to exist.
Yeah, and they gave them all MSV. I was looking at it the other day about because in lead up to this episode, I had started going through all of the different factions and looking for things that are like that's an identifiable threat, and linkable MSV is one of them. Guess who doesn't get an MSV link? It's Ariadne. It's only Ariadne. Everyone else gets it.
They do, don't they? Can't you link Mavericks? You can have a Harrison Mavericks.
Which that's right. Yes,
yeah. Remember the motorcycle guys have MSV1.
Yeah. There you go.
It's a very weird link because it's like 3 motorcycles.
It's only a Harris, so it doesn't go all the way, and it
Yeah.
requires you to bring a doctor motorcycle.
Yeah, I think it does. No,
because it's only 2, and then the doctor makes it
2,
3.
and then the doctor is the wild card. I think. Yeah, you're right.
No, he's also a wild card. He's a grunt wild card. Motorized can join them because they're 1 to 2 Mavericks and 0 to 1 motorized bounty or motorized doctors. So you get a Harris, so they can even get a burst 2 MSV, and then they're Mavericks, so they get rockets. So okay, there you go. Everyone gets it.
Candy.
You're welcome,
Candy.
everybody. You're
Candy.
welcome. I knew. Also, that Maverick team is actually really good.
And the real question is,
weirdly,
how many of them all have mimetism as well? And the answer is way more than you think.
yeah, because the Mavericks do all have mimetism, which is really funny.
Yep.
But only when
sure
they're on their
does.
motorcycles. When they're weirdly one of the only ones that when they get off their motorcycle don't have mimetism anymore. It's a weird combination. Still have MSV1 though.
I mean, a lot of people when they get off their bike, the exceptions are the ones who keep it.
Well, the thing that they also have, which most bikers have, is armor 3, because they're wearing Tuzium plated armor, so they get off with their AP Spitfire that also fires $1 trillion ammunition in their $1 trillion armor and have MSV1. So that actually is a good lead into this. We are going to be talking about we haven't come up with a name for this. We should come up with a name for this, like what this format's going to be. It's like greatest hits. You know what I mean? Like it's like a what are the, but Owen's concept for this was
I'm thinking more like first reaction would be what it is. Mm-hmm. So like when you're gonna go play a game and you're playing against someone who you don't know that well, and then you go, hey, what faction are you playing? And they say, hey, I'm playing Rama Task Force. And your brain goes, what could they bring in Rama Task Force? And like you don't care about everything that they can bring. Like, okay, sure, they can bring Ghazis, or they can bring Gulams rather, and they can bring the variant of remotes. But like, that isn't what you're thinking about. You're thinking, what are the threats that are in there that are going to just murderize whatever it is that I have going on? So what do I need to bring to counter?
It's only a cheat sheet. This is like your opposing force cheat sheet. So Owen's approaching this from the point of view of like, you're not playing Haqqislam now and all of its various sub factions. It's you're gonna go play against them. So you're now not playing as them, because all of our faction guides were, if you're gonna play as this faction, what do you imagine you would take and what would you do? And here's a breakdown of stuff. So
now it's like a reverse greatest hits.
Yeah. Reverse greatest hits, exactly. Or greatest hitters. This is the greatest hitters. It's your top line threats from a given faction. And this felt like a good way to almost do like an anti-faction breakdown. And this is an idea Owen had. So we're gonna do this today, starting with Haqqislam, and maybe if we get into it, get to O12 too. We'll see how long this goes, because we've never done this before, so we don't really know. And this is a concept Owen came up with for like what is the useful thing for everybody else. So if you're listening to a faction guide, it's useful for people that want to play that faction. If you're not, everybody can get something from this playing against this faction. Like what are you on the lookout for, and what are your like top line counters? Well, not everyone's going to have those.
The previous episode, it came up a little bit.
That's right.
We mentioned like the threats that come out of factions, and it's the case I was trying to make. And I don't think I effectively did it to you of why I think Bahram is the scariest out there. But we'll get to it in this episode, because it explains why. Like, we won't see it fully because I'm not going to talk about other factions other than maybe O12.
Right.
But even across Haqqislam, you'll see.
All right, quick, awesome. So let's do our lead in that, and we'll jump right into that. And we'll start with some announcements and what's been going on in Infinity and our like recent hobby. So we'll start with announcements and what we have coming up. So the first announcement is I came up with a concept now that we're like rolling, because this is our 25th episode. He said ?
I can't believe we haven't been canceled.
I can't believe that's right. I can't believe Ash hasn't fired us all yet after the last one. Yeah, this is our 25th episode, I think. No, 24th episode. 24. So we've been doing this we've almost doing this for half a year. 26 is half a year. So we are creeping up. We're on the 24th episode on having actually made it through like half of our first year, because 52 is a year. Of like a weekly podcast. And now that we're kind of rolling, one of the things we want to do is introduce some new features. One of those features is going to be a monthly mailbag. So we're going to I'm going to start it for the end of each month. So I'm going to put this up this week for the patrons in the patron chat on Discord. And it'll be basically just like a write in your questions. Everybody can write in one, and we'll do like an end of like month Q&A, just like an AMA, basically ask us anything and we can go around the corner. You can ask us individually. Ask as a group, and we'll basically take your questions and answer them.
If you ask the questions, we will make fun of you.
Yes,
I will.
and each other. And we'll name you by name if you want, and if you don't want, then just don't put your name in. This would be just an interesting feature. And then what we also wanted to do was a episode vote feature. So what we'll probably do is starting, like, we won't do the episode topic vote thing this month, but we'll do it for June. And we'll put in basically just like a catch-all of like, hey, throw out some ideas for episodes. No, throw out some ideas for episodes. Dude, I'm sick of coming up with episode ideas.
We still have like 10, 15, 20 faction reviews we still have to do.
I know we do. But I figured we could also do something different, like have like a monthly, maybe we pair that with the mailbag from then on. So like our like patron episode is a voted on topic, like a polled on topic, and then we do the Q&A at the end. And that gives us like an episode a month basically that's voted for and created by patrons. And that we like riff on. And if we hate it, we just ignore it because we're in the fucking driver's seat, and that's it. That's how this goes. It's not a democracy. Although we love you patrons and you're great and we like your money, so keep going. So that's the first announcement. Second announcement is we are 23 registered, and I think 12 paid so far for Summer Siege, which is our upcoming Attack-Aware tournament. And it is now going to be scheduled for August 20th. So this is all the people who are there are rollers from the date change in May. And then people paid already, so it's filling up fast. It's over halfway filled. If you do want to secure your spot, make sure you send through your ticket fee, and we'll be ready to rock and roll with more details. The actual like scenario list is up, but I want to make sure that we have some cool prizes. And yeah, I need to the whatchamacallit, full Merovingian army was a pretty cool prize, and I have to figure out a way to top that now. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do, but I have some ideas. I found some stores that have old Infinity stuff new in box still, so I might go around once the ticket money comes in and try and collect up another like hard to find, hard to buy army for the grand prize again, the big golden ticket prize. So we'll see how that goes. But we're over halfway full. We got all our tables secured, and we have a hard cap this time of 40 because we won't be able to fit any more in the room. So if you want to come to Summer Siege, get yourself signed up, get your ticket cost in. Like I said, Spring Offensive was fantastic. We had an amazing crew, and this one's probably going to sell it again. So let's get to it. And that's it for announcements. So let's see what's going on with. We'll start with Dan, because Dan's been writing army lists with remotes in it and sending us pictures of remotes. What have you been doing?
So I got confirmation that they forgot to order my Yujing, and they claimed it was lost to order, but we all know what that means.
It means we dragged them on the internet and people started asking who and where. That's what happened. It means we dragged these fuckers on the internet and they're like, oh shit, they're gonna come after us on Twitter.
So you know, hopefully within a month it'll get mailed to them and then mailed to me. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
But basically,
they've already sold your War Machine miniatures. They got your money. They don't care.
Yeah. I really don't care either.
I mean, they're paying you in credit. They paid you for this War Machine army in credit, so you kind of should care a little bit.
Nah, it's fine. It was just collecting dust and doing nothing anyway.
Essentially the hobby shit already, right?
I had written off the value of my War Machine armies completely. There were just bricks of poorly painted.
War Machine could just go in the garbage and it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, so I already got way more. Look at this exciting adventure I've got on. This is more than I've paid for.
The friends you made along the way is worth it. No matter what. And
the enemies that we've crushed. But anyways,
that's starting.
I was like going back and forth and looking at Yaoxi Ludwans for Yujing. And like in the white banner, and I think you can get like a couple of them, but they're size 4 hollow projector hollow mast. And I was like, wait. So I can pretend to be like the Rushis, which are like the MSV2 size 4 repeaters.
Yep.
Or I can pretend to be the Pangolins, which are like the Evo hacker guys or whatever. And so I'm just like, ooh, there could be so many size 4s on the board, and they're all like I can just inundate, and they're like, which one's the real Rushi? Which one's the real whatever? Who knows? And
It's also like
sometimes that is
3
fun.
size 4s, so it's like a
Oh, yeah.
huge
Oh, yeah,
output
they're
of like
everywhere.
who's who.
But then like you could just, play mind games and be like, oh, this one's in the open. That's probably not real. But then it is, and it kills you.
It's also a BS-12 Mark 12 +1 burst heavy flamethrower with deployable repeater. It's a bananasly weird, and it has mine layer, so you have a turn 0 repeater on the board too, which is weird.
Yeah, and then if I actually take Pangolins, I can make them, marksmanship, give them marksmanship, and then even more fun. And then they're just so like, and then there's like the long yas, which are like size 3 camo guys with +1 burst Panzerfaust.
Yeah, it's kind of a light version of Owen's favorite.
But anyways,
Pathway value.
whoa.
What?
They're camouflage, but there are no mimetism.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is there like a light version of what's his name? Of something but long, yeah.
If they were 1/3 of his size, maybe.
No, they're bigger. They're
Yeah.
bigger than he is for sure. Yeah. Like they can't.
Yeah,
hide
but
his
they're
mine
they're
and stuff.
1/3 the quality. He
He
can't
1/3
hide
the
his
cost.
mine
But also
either.
1/3 the cost. So 16 points for like a burst 2 Flammenspier, AP mine, SMG, forward deploy, remote presence, surprise attack, camo. Like they're a neat cheap profile for 32 points for 2 of them.
And it's like medium-sized camo marker. What could it be? It could be anything. It could even be a long yak.
It's definitely a long, yeah. The
anyway.
Flamin, I have new respect for them though, because the burst 2 Flammenspier, burst 2 Panzerfaust is so versatile. And
I
having
didn't
AP
realize that
mines,
Flamin' Spears were a blast
burst,
until we played the other
exactly.
day.
A
Yeah.
flame
The fact-
blast.
The fact that you could do templates with them.
Yeah.
And they have
Pretty good.
Panzerfausts, right? So
Yeah.
both. And they can
The,
they can suppress afterwards, and they've got
Did you do it with the trip hammer?
mine layer.
When you found out the flame spear?
No, it was the double Anaconda trip hammer combo.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The trip hammer gets the +1 flame spear as well.
He could have
But-
shot 3.
That was
Or they
only
just
2
put
ammo.
on deployable too. That's why they don't have enough ammo.
Yeah.
Just 1
Oh,
physics. But anyway,
that was
so
one of the games we played, and he had a bunch of little fusiliers on a rooftop, and I'm like, I shoot blast, and he's like, they don't have blast. I'm like, oh, I assure you.
Oh yes, I do.
But anyway, so I've been like finding some files to 3D print for like all the extra kind of like camo-y and hollow masky stuff that I'm gonna have to do. So
Yeah, just for your hollow echoes for like your size
that's what I meant, yeah,
fours.
the
You know what I
hollow-
mean?
know,
Like
not hollow mask. Yeah.
needing like 1 million hollow echoes for size fours is crazy.
Yeah, so I want like I've seen way too many like empty bases or whatever, and I'm just like, nah, I want something. So I've been printing that stuff out, having fun with it. It should be good. And I got 2 games of Infinity in.
No shit. Who'd you play?
Owen.
Me.
One in doubt. Owen has to
Oh.
play down again.
Yeah. So we played he played Joan Pain Train.
After all those conversations about him never having played against the Pain Train, we played 2 games of the Pain Train.
How'd that go?
The first game, I was like, I got this cool bronze link with the HMG and look at me go. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm running out of orders. I didn't do enough damage. I can't run away. Uh-oh. And then it was like, okay, but they're bronzes. They'll survive a little bit. And then they just like got walked over like nothing.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Mr. BS23 shotgun came around the corner and was like,
That's
hello,
one's
friends.
favorite. The cheapest hospitaller knight who just goes danger close, and if that doesn't work, he just goes into melee with you.
Not against bronzes. Don't do that.
No, against bronze, that's true. They're built different. They're built
Yeah.
a little different
Yeah.
than
Right.
the average schlub. But if it's just some mimetism guy, you just walk up close and be like, "Nah, I missed. Nah, I'm just gonna stab you."
You don't
Yeah.
miss.
So I kind of just got annihilated there. The second game I brought I was playing Star Motto the whole time because I just like I hadn't really played it. And so I was proxying the new guys, the
Beta, not beta troopers, the Seki droids and the
Seku droids,
shit, what's the other
and
one
the camo
called?
guys.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm excited. They're a June release. They're coming out soon.
Oh. Anyway, so wild parrots are fun, but then
Shit, yeah.
they're hard to I need to be a lot more precise with their placements because he was always able to to get rid of them relatively
The
easily.
War Corps walks in front of the parrot, thus freeing
Mhm.
Joan.
Mhm. Hey, 3-point guy, you have a job.
But
Oh,
then
if
he
you
just
pass-
all
I
he
see
does is
you.
get
I see you
isolated. He
graduated
doesn't
from
even
college.
Doesn't
I
even
see you
hurt him.
graduated from college. Now you get
Yeah.
to go over here, Mr. Workor. Do this. I see you've got an English lit degree. I have a job
Sarcos.
for you.
It's the Sarcos.
Yeah.
But
There-
it'll be interesting to experiment with these guys more. But
being
then I
only
brought
one shot with them too is discouraging.
you got to make it. But I mean, you don't have to roll for it. You just place it, right? And you can
Oh
place it
sure.
behind
I mean, just like
walls.
crazy quals, you get more. You know what I mean? Like most of the deployables are like that. You tend to get more.
Yeah. But anywho, I brought a pain train of beta troopers. So it was like 3 beta troopers, an Epsilon, and a Seku droid for my big thing.
And that's
And
that's an actual like that's a real boy link now. That's a
oh yeah. It was scary.
yeah.
And so I like there was a tall building in the middle, and I kind of just went climbing plus and like killed some stuff around it, and then just sat on top of the building.
He goes
And I was
prone with
like-
everything on the highest point of the table.
And I'm like, come get me.
This is my island of safety from Joan. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna climb this building so you can't stab me.
And everyone just went prone. And then
They hid.
because I'm an idiot, I put my Raven Eye up way too high, and then I lost the lieutenant. So I struggled a little bit. And then he found a way up a ladder to get vantage point, and then he took apart all my guys. Also, he ran up a repeater next to the building as I was all prone on it, and he's like, isolate. Killer hacker, my killer hacker. I'm like, oh no.
I see you beta troopers are robots. I have a bad plan for you.
My
But I
name
did
is
better,
Defersen.
man.
I am the best.
But also, if a few just placements were a little different there, I think I stood a chance, and I think it would have been like a pretty cool game. But it was just kind of like you have to be so exact when you're facing those things, because like if you don't play perfectly, Joan doesn't care.
That Pam train has all backup plan too. Like every guy in there can step up and be like, "Well, you took a wound. You go over here, buddy. Let
like,
Dr. Hospitaler treat you. I'm gonna come to the front and bring whatever gun I have."
But also, it's like, oh, you're hitting on 10s, or you're hitting on 13s. Well, I'm hitting on 20s. Good luck.
Your stop block's cute because you're a robot, but I got
Yeah.
Deus Vault on my side.
Joan walks to the top of the building. He's like, oh, we all have mimetism. I'm like, oh, okay. So I hit on 18s.
Yeah, built different.
My
God
bad.
definitely wills it with those guys. It's funny because we kind of dunked on them the last little while, because they're like the one faction that hasn't been given a bunch of access to order efficiency in the way that most of the factions have. They have some NCOs, and of course they have inspiring presence on Joan, but that's not really different from what they did before to kind of compensate for their expensive like troopers. But I mean, at the end of the day, you can still lean on that stat block and be like, yeah, but have you tried just not missing? Like, and so they do have some obvious like mechanical power still, even now with all the order and efficiency. And sometimes you get games where you just break yourself against that fire team. That fire team just sits in the middle of the table and fires in every direction, and you can't beat that stat block.
Or it comes for you, which is what happened in both of those games.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, the reactive turn.
And I didn't go first either.
Down, yeah.
Like I went second on both games. So he had the opportunity, he came up, he did damage. But the screened. And they lived just long enough that he couldn't do any damage to the train. And then I think each game had like 9 orders.
Right.
To be able to do their thing.
And the train leaves the station.
Yep.
That's rolling.
Yep.
Well, good.
I played 2 more games.
Godspeed. You played 2 more games that weren't against Dan?
That weren't
What
against
was your
Dan.
week like? Okay.
The other one I played against a newer guy. He was playing, he picked up military orders, but he was playing Yu Ching this time. And so I played military orders, and I brought the pain train as the first time playing them in quite a while. And showed him what that's like. So he was playing Invincible Army and had this like hyper efficient heavy infantry link. Like
the Shang-Chi's maybe with all attack war.
Yeah, not the peak Shang-Chi where you can get like 18 orders and 5 guys, but pretty high nonetheless. And even there, it was just like he moves up a bit, my guys slow him down, the Raven Eye and friends, they just stall. And then next thing you know, Mr. Shotgun Hospitaller has made it up the stairs, and he's just like, I shoot you. I shoot you. It's like, I'm going to shoot you with my boarding shotgun. I'm like, I'm going to shoot you with my boarding shotgun.
I brought one of those too.
I crit on 17s. I'm +3 to hit.
Yeah, the +3 hits just shocking. When you have a melee mod when you're firing your shotgun. Oh man.
Yeah. And then the second game, I played against Ariadna, but I tried to play my my Trip Hammer and Anaconda list. And it was, as much as I don't like to be like, oh, dice was what decided it. Dice decided it. He had his Cameronian, the guy with the or not, maybe it's the Cameronian, buddy with the damage 17 AP HMG, and he's armor 5.
That's the Mormare.
Shot him 45 times with an AP Spitfire, as in 45 dice were rolled, and he made every save and rolled just good enough to get only 1 or 2 hits against himself each time.
Wow.
And I finally killed him after spending 13 orders. And that was all I could do for an entire turn. And then the other time was what's her name? Fiddler and her 2 little bots got into Uxia, the one volunteer watching their back, and the dog face that was there. And the dog face made 8 consecutive armor saves against the Vulcan shotguns and breaker pistols. The volunteer made 5 against the shotguns, and Uxia never failed a dodge, and also beat the breaker pistols in a gunfight with 1 shot. And they killed all of my guys. He lost nothing. And it's like, all right, I guess I'll just lose then.
Some days you eat the bear, man. Some days the bear eats you, and sometimes the bear's name is Mormare.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's Infinity, right? Like sometimes you just can't. The dice just don't stick.
Yeah. It was brutal, and it was very much a case of like, as much as it's like, oh yeah, you always have other choices and things like that you could do. It's a move up and take the box from the other guy. You have to remove the one guy who's standing there looking at you. And if they don't fail armor saves, it actually doesn't matter what you do. Did you shoot him with a damage 16 AP gun? But what if he just rolls a 16?
All the time.
He does it for every shot. And you're like, oh, I guess I'll just lose then.
And I gotta creep in the open, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Fun. And then you made yourself better by bullying Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. Tremendous. I haven't played any Infinity, but that's because I have just run a giant Infinity tournament, and I don't have any. I have to recover from that. I did get my hands on some funny Infinity minis, though. I got my Meteors on, and then immediately realized it wasn't in Corregidor and got sad. I was like, wait, the remote should be in everything. Oh wait, the flying remote's not in Corregidor? What the fuck? Like, I was so upset. I was gonna paint it for my Corregidor, so I guess I have to do my Bakunin now, so that I can have it in Bakunin, because it's like this cool, super neat flying Psychocast on. I really wanted to paint it, and I got to paint a whole army to go with it, even though I have a Nomad army already. So I'm gonna work on that. I got my hands on the new Aleph Steel Phalanx upgrade pack with the Macon and not Eudora, it's the other one. Mackie, the Macon, and the doctor guy. Machion. Yeah, Machion. Wait, no, I said Machion. What's the other one? It's like 2 named characters, Machion and somebody else. Shit. I've lost my strength, like my name lists for this army.
I'm not gonna help you.
I know you're not. You wouldn't.
I'm starting to think you've never known what you're talking about.
I don't most of the time. Eudoros? No, Eudoros is the one I already had. It's Machion and It's gonna hurt my brain now. Akmon,
Somebody
maybe?
else.
Is it
Somebody else is
Akmon?
gonna know exactly who it is, and they're
I
gonna
hate
listen to this moment, and they're
and
just gonna be mad.
screaming. They're just
They're
gonna be
like,
screaming
"You
that he
dumb
doesn't know.
motherfucker!"
That's right. just stop making a podcast, all three of you, because you can't.
I'm gonna
remember
listen to this guy's
all
opinion,
these
and he
names.
doesn't even know the
That's right.
models in the
Doesn't even
game.
know the models' names. Anyway, those are my two projects to work on the next little while.
The painted models, deal with it.
Yeah, I gotta paint my I also had some O12 stuff I wanted to finish off for Starmada. I have a Nyoka I wanted to paint. Just got multi-rifle, so I can start using the Nyoka fire team. It's like base coated in base, so it needs to get touched up. And then also I put all the base coats down for what's his name? Sexy secret agent man. Casanova.
Dan.
Casanova, that's right.
Casanova,
Dan. Spike Spiegel. I keep calling him Spike Spiegel. Spike Spiegel needs to get painted. And I had one other model that was in there that I wanted to paint. I did Nyoka, I did Spike Spiegel. There was something else cool that I had. I can't remember which other one it was. But there's like a couple extra, like it was a Psychop. There's just like a couple extra like models I wanted to paint up to try out a new list for that faction.
Started painting a custom Stampa.
You did for painting custom Stampa. That's right. A custom 1990 Stampa, which I like because he's the fat bellied second edition Stampa.
He's a Gargant shrunk to be a Stampa.
Yeah.
No, he's a Stampa. He's a custom Stampa. Yeah.
No, I know, but I think
they used to
style
used
the
to all be
Gargant
Gargants. Yeah. They used to, even the Stampas were Gargants.
They were their
they made a
Gargants.
made a new model when they got shrunk down / plasticized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Mech Boy Gargant was the one that's like the current sort of like Stompa. And then Stompas came out when the Titan Legions box came out, and they were the little guys that were like
they just were a little
class
Gargants.
below. Yeah, like a class below. Anyway, sideline into orc technology. So that's what I've been working on. Yeah, that's it. So let's dive in. Let's get to the main feature. Main feature time, everybody. Let's do the new segment, which we're gonna call Greatest Hitters. An anti-faction guide. I'm excited for this. So take it away, Owen.
Yeah. So the concept is basically, and it's tied, as I said at the very beginning, to the idea of what we were talking about before, where you don't see your opponent's list when you go to play Infinity, but you do get to know what faction they are. And there's a degree of like understanding that you got to get to in Infinity before you're going to be able to like reliably deal with things that come at you. And unfortunately, even listening to this, those lessons aren't going to stick until it happens. Like the first time you fight someone who has parachutist deployment zone is going to change the way you deploy every game. The first time you face a 5-man link that has the like pure link bonus and a visor is going to change the way you interact with link teams going forward. The first time you play against someone who has access to smoke and a visor is going to change the way you react and how you expect to get shot at. And like some of these things, you'll kind of have an idea of what they mean. Some you won't. But the purpose here is, hey, guy I just met at this event, what faction are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Rama Task Force. Hey, that's cool. Nobody in my gaming group plays Haqqislam. What are they like? And that's the idea here. It's what is it like to play that faction? What are they? I don't need to know every single detail. I don't need a full breakdown of the faction. I need to know which list should I drop into this, because is it going to have some hard like nightmare piece that I'm not going to be able to deal with, or something like that. Yeah,
like almost like a well-known or notorious power play.
And a perfect example is what you had said, and I'm only going to say this one for Toha, but it's the symbiomates and the eraser, not eraser, the other one, Endgame. You don't know what that is. Like that doesn't mean anything to you, and how it's threatening it can and can't be until you play against somebody who uses it. And if you play against Toha, you have to be aware that they're going to have those things, and you need to plan accordingly. And if you don't, then you won't, and you'll have a hard time. Sometimes the dice will carry you through it anyway. Not saying that you're going to win because you know this. It's just you might make a bit more better informed opinions when you go to deploy. So in the spirit of our faction reviews, having gone over Haqqislam and O12 and Aleph, figured today we'll start with Haqqislam.
They're a pretty meaty one too, and they have some pretty pronounced like greatest hitters. So I think this is a good one to start with.
So we'll do it the same way we did the reviews, where we're going to start with Rama and go back in time from Rama to Qapu Khalqi to Bahram to the vanilla faction. But yeah, I guess like I've played Task Force a lot.
You sure have.
Neither of you play Haqqislam, but you've both played me, and you've both played me when I play Task Force. So I want to get your opinions first about, hey, we're going to play a game and I'm playing Rama Task Force in Haqqislam.
What do I think I'm going to see?
What's the first thing that comes to your mind that like, uh-oh?
I mean, besides the fact that you've abused people with the Marguerite guard, like with the Rafik remote attached to it, that feels like something you've done.
But that's what I mean. So there you go. There's the first
there's
one.
And we talked about it a lot.
Watch out for 2 Marguerite guards with double Rafiks.
I'd say one at the very least. That is a combo, and actually that's a very common combo because I think it's available in vanilla pack too.
It's only available here and in Dishat.
No, double.
I know.
But single is available in core hack, isn't it? You can take a single.
The FTO Rafiks can't link in vanilla.
Really? Weird. Oh, okay.
Other things can come, but not the Rafik remote.
So that's the first top line one, and we've talked about that one incessantly. So it's worth talking about. I guess the second one,
My mistake. He can in the vanilla now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew I wasn't crazy. Well, yeah, I was like, I knew this was like a light version.
I wouldn't go that far.
Why wouldn't you go that far?
But you're not crazy.
Oh no, correct.
Thank you, Stan.
Categorically correct. that was a good shout. Nailed it. The second one that I would probably say is Yara and or Tarek Mansouri in like a Harris team, because both of them are shockingly good. Yara doesn't have a finisher yet, but she's amazing with her MSV2 AP marksman rifle for cheaper. And then the up-gunned version of that is Tarek Mansouri in a usually a Harris Fire team, like of Kawaji's, or really anybody, because he's a wild card. But those are both really powerful, versatile hitting pieces that can combo with smoke in Yara's case, because there is access to smoke in this faction. And Tarek is a monster of like special rules, who if you don't have him you can have him with attack aware, which means he can just go around humming grenades at you, and he's immune to crits. He's got an AP rifle. He's got lots going on. He's a good fighter. So those are two things off the top of my head I see as like top line, like, oh, this is something I would see. Like this mechanical power Haqqislam stuff is something I'd be looking for.
Dan, do you remember what is in that faction?
No, but it has a Sundeck butt, so yeah.
It does have Sundeck butt, yeah. Actually, I would just say any of these that can take a Sundeck butt. it's probably worth noting that Sundeck butt is an available option, and he is horrifying.
If there is a no mimetism camo marker on the board in this faction, it
within
is
8 inches of another no mimetism camo marker.
This is one of the things about that you can remember about Rama is they don't have another one. They only have one.
Yeah.
The only other thing they get is the Toregs, who are Mim 6 and also hidden deployment. So it's unlikely
because they have decoy. I mean,
what I mean to say though is that any of those cow markers are guaranteed to be that guy.
Yeah,
like whether it's the deco or not, it's not. You're not going to play the Daylami like shell.
There's no Daylamis in this either. Yeah,
right. They can't play that game. My perspective, the things that I'm the most afraid of are Magariba Guard with his link, the Sunduck butt, and a dirt cheap Gulam link with a attached killer piece, because the Zayadins in this faction count as Gulams. And
I forgot about that. They do.
I remember playing this now.
Marksmanship HMG or marksmanship sniper or marksmanship missile launcher surrounded by little doctors or NCOs is a terrifying, like, they can do this to you and then have enough points to still throw the Namurs and the Nahabs and the Mukhtars and all of these other like solo pieces that can get a lot of work done, or the Janissaries or the Sunduk Butt. But the fact that they have access to a marksmanship 5-man core link for like 80 points is a big threat.
And it's upgun too. It's a marksmanship core link with like decent shoot stats, big like full composition bonus.
Yeah,
and you can have how many Zaydens? You can have 5 Zaydens in that link?
Could.
Oh my god!
But you don't, so, right? Yeah. You only take. But you can shoot them out.
Yeah, your SWC goes into Zaydens.
Yeah,
they have a 0.5 Swick sniper rifle too for 27 points. Oh man,
the regular sniper rifle though.
Yeah,
sure.
but
the thing is
marksmanship. Like
his job is I'm BS 18
all the time.
And this is what I do.
Yeah.
And so that's what he is. And then the other side of the coin is they have a ultra effective Harris with the Kawari NCO MSV guy. It can go anywhere. It's sort of like we talked a little bit of the Karu team with the extra shots Fearbach. This guy is just as fast for different reasons because he's super jump and things like that. But then he gets MSV. And MSV solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, the Quarry MSV, it's a Mark 12. Yeah, it's pretty decent gun.
Yeah, Mark 12.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for one. Like I think you're saying the same thing, but you could take Layla too for cheaper points. You don't get the NCO, but you've got this almost a better gun.
Right, but you lose +1 attack damage, super jump, bioimmunity. You get Natural Born Warrior.
AP is arguably better than the BS tech in most cases, or the BS +1 damage in most cases, because damage 16 versus damage 13 and half armor, there's a diminishing returns to the damage 16 versus the AP.
You've got to hit armor 6 before that's relevant.
Yeah.
Every other time, damage 16 is better. So if you're fighting size 7 tags,
you have to hit armor. You have to hit any armor over 2 actually. Because it's you're taking cover out of it, right?
Sure.
Right, but that's his argument why 16 is better.
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying. Yeah, I understand what he's saying math-wise.
Yeah, so math-wise, like if you're fighting super heavies, absolutely she's the better way to go about it. Like anything hitting armor 5 or 6 or more. But this guy's just so fast, and also unlike Yera, he'll just kill you in melee too.
Sure will. Yeah, 22
like
CC,
22 Natural Born Warrior, Bioimmune. And he's in a link because he's going to join the 3-man team just to get that burst, and because he's NCO built in. But yeah, those are like my 3. Like I'm going to play against these guys. It's like can
we break down the just for people listening who haven't listened to our previous faction breakdowns? Can we talk about why that Magariba Guard is so scary?
The biggest thing with the Magariba Guard and why this particular combination is scary is in how many points is it exactly? So you bring the 85 point.
It's 105
for the
20 points for the FTO.
Yeah. So it's an 85 point Magariba Guard. He's the multi HMG. So multi means he's going to get all of the shot types. So he's good all the time. He doesn't have a downside. Flamethrower +1 burst, which is great. AP heavy pistol if the flamethrower isn't what you want to use, and notably a mine dispenser. Teamed up with his Rafik friend, who's armed with a Red Fury, and in the current season tack aware. That means between the two of them at 100 points, you have 4 orders with their innate orders and their tack aware orders. Magariba Guard also has baggage as a built-in skill, and because of that, he can reload his own mine dispenser, and because he's BS14, he can shoot mines up to 16 inches out on 17s and reload himself. What it does is it sets up situations where the Magariba Guard can fire 2 mines around a corner so that they're going to hit whatever thing he's about to fight, and then walk around the corner and fight it. And all of a sudden, every single enemy you'll fight in the game has to make that choice because it can kill basically anything in that 1-2 combo.
Yeah, it really is the attack version of this. I saw some people I think that really thought that mine dispenser was a like defensive loadout, and it's actually the thing that makes him incredibly good at digging out mimetism pieces that most tags can't deal with. Like most tags have to go send an MSV guy to go deal with like a mimetism piece and cover. This guy just drops 2 mines in front of it on the advance to go fight it. And then when it comes around the corner, goes, all right, your choice, dodge or shoot me.
You might do some damage to me, but you better, unless you have a gun that's going to kill me, and you probably won't get all 3 because I'm still shooting you with PS14.
And 2 mines
Like
are going to kill a Mim guy. 2 mines are just going to obliterate a Mim guy because they don't usually have armor.
2 mines can kill everybody. Like, this is the thing that some of my opponents found out playing this, was like, even guys like Morats and like armor 4 and 5 guys, 2 mines is a lot. When you don't have the cover mods, you're slightly better odds than 50-50s. You're probably taking a wound, and you still have to beat a tag in the shootout, and it's shooting with its 4 shots. Yeah, this is a very fast, very effective combo that's super order efficient, and that's what makes it so scary.
Yeah, and it's real good. It does want to go first though.
If you bring 2, you definitely want to go first. If you bring 1 and you're going to put a dirt cheap couple of links that are like a face-up Zayadin who is held in reserve and joins a group of Ghulams, you could probably survive going second, unless you're playing like hard counters. But
so remember, we're trying to counter this list though. So in Rama Task Force, right? If you see 1 or if you see 2, like there's not going to be the same level of sort of like skullduggery to defend it that there would be in other Haqqislam factions. Yes, so you won't have to worry about things like tons of candle markers and Delamis. You're gonna know if there's a Sonic butt in the table because nothing else is gonna look like it. And the only thing you might not know about advancing to go kill this thing's a Torrig, and that's also a lot of points.
Yeah. So like I guess if you're facing off and no one has deployed yet, because you don't know yet what you're playing against, you have to choose your list before they start placing models. The big threats, in my opinion, are the Maghariba Guard combo, the Sunduck Butt combo, and then the ability to bring really effective cheap links that can do the job. I would bring drop troopers. I would bring parachutists. I would bring infiltrating camel guys.
And hackers. You can pin down that Maghariba Guard with hackers too. You don't have a lot of anti-hacking defense unless you've planned for that in this list in Rama in general.
They don't have a lot of that, but I'm hesitant to say it because the Maghariba Guard, because he's Haqqislam, is resilient to being hacked. Unless you're getting at him on his active turn, but he'll just send the Kawari will come. Like they'll find your hacker because they have super jump and they're 6'2".
Sure. So what I'm saying is if you have the chance to, you can put out things like a turn 0 hacking net, or if you go first, you can lay pictures around it, and you drastically you force it to dig itself out from under that instead of coming for you with all that mine layer stuff. Yeah, it's a way of slowing them down.
Yeah. Yep. That's certainly true. But yeah, my advice for how to deal with these guys is going to be lean on dice, like just have lots of shots. You don't need a lot of MSV and you don't need things like that to deal with these guys. What you need is your own ability to hide, because a lot of them are very good fighters, and the ability to kind of come from the sides, get them in ways that they can't defend themselves against, where they're shooting you on your way in.
Maggie doesn't like smoke either. He's got no visor. He's got no sixth sense. He can't fire his heavy flamethrower if he's in smoke, right? Because it's a BS attack. So that's a big like weak point for it. Same with that Zayden link. If you fight it in smoke, it doesn't have it'll have sixth sense obviously, but it doesn't have any kind of visor options. The Harris, obviously, you're gonna take a visor, so you can't get there that way. But if you have access to smoke, those are two big lever points for Magharibas and the Ghoulie Zayden link.
Smoke is always a good call. Like most factions, you're going to have a good time with smoke. There's a few that when we get to other factions, I think you're going to run into it. Actually, you'll see it in the next two factions from now.
Yeah.
Tonight. But and then the other thing, and honestly, the biggest threat is, in my opinion, the Sunduck Butt, because it's until you play against one, you don't realize just how like oppressive this thing's going to be. Kill him if he's got an engineer. If he brought Fiddler, you have to kill Fiddler too.
Yeah.
Or you have to kill that Sunduck Butt to death. Like keep shooting it until it's no longer on the table.
Or melee it. It also doesn't like smoke.
It also doesn't like smoke, but it's way harder to get that smoke on him because he's usually in a marker state and he won't reveal himself, and you can't reveal him if you smoke it, right? So like if he's clever, unless you can do it on the second turn. Anyway, more of the story is smoke's always great, but if you don't have smoke, or if your smoke is limited, or if these guys remove your smoke piece, if you have an unlucky moment and you just can't get the smoke off, or it's not in the right position, just avoid the Sunduck Butt if you can. Like, that's my advice. Like, don't spend the points, because he's going to trade equal or up to get rid of him. That's been almost every game I've ever played with one. You have to invest as much as it costs, and if you can just not, it doesn't really do anything. It'll just sit there as a pylon, unless they take one of the offensive ones. But I haven't seen anybody do that yet, and I've played against Sunduck Butts now. Or if you have indirect fire of some kind, if you can somehow get an EM grenade or EM grenade launcher and try and shut him down that way. Regular
Or EM
grenades,
launcher in the corner.
he dodges on 14s.
Oh, it's 11s because it's mine.
Sure. Still hard.
Sure,
you gotta get the mine there.
Sure,
And you
but
gotta get the
I'm
mine
saying, and he has to move around then too. Like he has to get away from it. Like it's not nothing. You're doing a bad job of arguing.
Right, no,
how to
but
defeat these guys.
But my
everything
case
is
for the
like it's not
Sunduck
going to
Butt
work.
is-
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. These are.
No,
it's never like for sure in any of these things. It's just these are the best choices you can make.
Yeah, and I mean, I laid out what I think the best choices are right off the top. I said, like, drop troops. They don't have a good like baseline defense because they don't have any. They have very few mine layers unless they happen to go into alpha seeds. So you won't have to deal with mines coming down. They don't have a great hacker net. So if you can drop troops, even drop heavy troops on them, they won't likely stop you with that. And then other than that, infiltrating guys with camo, like it's those guys can walk past the Sunduck Butt and it won't reveal itself because it's not going to reveal to do a discover. So you just walk on up and do your job, whatever that may be. Disabling the tags, killing one of the Ghulams in the 5-man link, something like that. And you'll be off to the races.
Sweet.
That's my advice. Watch out for them. Next up,
I feel like so. Just one thought. Against the Sunduck Butt, I feel like if you have any defensive mods like mimetism or even cover, and you could fire at it long range, like with a heavy machine gun, then
Definitely.
Then it usually goes down okay. Like it's not as good as the other solutions, but if that's all you have, that'll work. You just give it something juicy to reveal and murder, and then you take it out.
Yeah,
that's
or you
usually
just
the most order efficient.
Most people are taking a Fort Observer bot,
yeah,
of some form, right, and use the sensors to come sweep it.
Yeah, but it usually will just kill you on your way in.
Maybe
yeah. If you're gonna get discovered, you might as well just kill it.
Exactly, yeah. Or just dispose of it. You know what I mean? Like send yourself in, yeah.
Yeah.
Qapu Khalqi.
All right, let Dan go first this time. What do you think's the biggest hitters, the greatest hitters are in this?
The biggest hitters of Qapu Khalqi.
Give you a hint, starts with an A. It's Owen's favorite unit.
They have a 5-man link of Druze. Okay, that's not awful actually. I don't actually know. Hawaii? No. I don't know.
He was the evil cat in Smurfs.
Wait, I can't remember Smurfs. I'm too young.
The fucking hell you are.
I watched Smurfs, but I don't remember anything.
Azrael.
Azrael. Was that the name of the cat?
Yeah, his name was Azrael.
Huh,
it's Gargamel and Azrael. So the Azrael Harris is something to definitely look out for. That Azrael is, I can't imagine a QK player not leaving home without one. He's pretty synonymous with Qapu Khalqi, and they don't have a lot of like, I would say, greatest hitters.
The Azrael.
His +1 damage, continuous damage, flaming Fearbach and or AP heavy machine gun is pretty notorious, as they say. Yeah, I think that is my number one pick for greatest hitters out of this faction. Kind of end list. Sec bans maybe are the other ones I would kind of come up with. There's a sec ban link I think in there that's pretty cool. They have options of I think it's a 5-man for sec bans. Yeah, they can do a core, and they're relatively inexpensive. So a NCO Spitfire, maybe the heavy rocket launcher 5-man, and they can have halveses in there, which of course makes them cheaper. So you can get to that 5-man composition bonus, and the halveses give you the cheap extra, like two people in there. So I'm thinking Doctor plus 3 sec band, Spitfire, heavy rocket launcher, 2 halveses as my second pick.
So big link.
For big link, yeah, for a core link. And that's kind of end list. We've talked about how there's not a ton in Qapu Khalqi that sort of is like standout mechanically powerful or things to watch out for. That is I think it's funny because we're starting with 2 kind of like mechanical combo factions. Like Rama is all about sort of their like core Harrises and the fact they have access to a Sonic Butt. This one's kind of the same thing. They have access to a couple of really cool linkable pieces, the Azraels and the Sec Bands, the ones I would kind of shout out maybe.
So I think you're missing the forest for the trees, or the trees for the forest here. I think as if you're a person who doesn't know what you're going up against when you find these guys, you're absolutely right. Giant man with machine gun, but as soon as he goes on the board, you know he's going to be a problem. The Azrael is a gun that will kill you.
Yeah.
But the thing that this faction does real well is they have absolute dirt cheap drop troopers. Like they're gonna
true. Yeah, you're right.
You will always see a Yuan in this list. There will always be one, because for 8 points, they will always have one in there. And if you don't prepare for that, this idiot might drop in behind you with his chain rifle or his smoke grenade and set up a 1-2 combo with a Jambazan link or just himself.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't do it, his Bashi Bazook friends can do it.
I forgot they let smoke. I forgot Yuns are AVA3 and all have smoke.
And then they also
parachutist
have
and
booty.
combat jump smoke is crazy.
So they also could jump in
they might just
and
have a machine gun
or a MIM 6.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, this little thing could just show up and be a major problem to you. And like, God help you if he pulls grenades, because like if a guy jumps down behind and pulls regular grenades, he's Fizz 14. He's throwing grenades at spec fires
11s over walls. Yeah.
Like this is if you didn't know what you're playing against and you're like, oh, okay, it's another Haqqislam list. Like Haqqislam doesn't usually play the drop troop game that well. They have a few like, they exist and they have some good parachutists in my opinion, but they don't have a lot of really like there's no Louisiane, and there's no, what's the new Morat one that can like parachutist deployment.
I don't know. The parachute deployment. It's the old one. It's the diplomatic corps, Raziats.
Yeah, like they don't usually play that game. Like they have Fides, but they don't play the drop and like walk-in guys. And this guy he's small enough that you wouldn't notice it too. Like you'd look at a list and you'd be like 5-man link, heavy infantry Harris, some camel markers that have been put out. Okay, that's pretty much his whole list.
Yeah, it's 24 points put aside for potentially 3 arriving in your deployment zone if you want with combat jump, or just walking on your edges with smoke grenades, chain rifles, DA close combat weapons. And they actually bully in melee really well for 8 points with smoke grenades. They're CC22 with DA close combat weapons. That's not nothing for going and like hunting a gunfighter with smoke.
Or if they just need to remove the 4th or 5th guy in a link. Like if they go, hey, my job is to throw smoke on this link and then kill the guy who's giving you 6 cents.
Yeah, or just intuitive a chain rifle into it, right? Yeah. Like they can whip 13 intuitive chain rifles into that smoke, which is terrifying.
So like if I was to say the 3 things you got to watch out for: 5-man team, it could be any kind. All of each one of them
that way,
each one of them is going to be something scary. I think the Jambazan one is my favorite, but I see a solid case for just a dirt cheap, let's throw all of our Swick into the Gulams, because you can do that. You can bring a 5-man Gulam link that is a threat with an Azrael that is like a forward threat, and then smoke and chain rifles to disrupt and break up enemies. So like if you were playing this faction and you're going up against the task force and he's like, yeah, I'm playing task force, and you're like, I have some opportunities here with Yuans to get in there and trade their lives killing the Sunduk butt. Like they can afford to just land behind him. I walk up my Azrael, I brawl with the bot for one turn maybe, and then the Yuan lands in his dead zone and then comes after him with melee or just chain rifle.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a problem. You need to know that that's coming. So like I think that is a huge thing for these guys. Is there's drop troops in this list, and they're going to be in every list.
So how do you deal with parachutist warbands, like 8-point disposable parachutist warbands? What's your play here?
You need lots of coverage. If you can have mine layers, that's great. If you can have 360 HMGs, also great. You basically need to make it that there's as little space near to your deployment that they can land that won't result in them being affected in some way. Even if it's something as simple as you have a bunch of baseline hackers and repeaters around, just to get spotlights on them, just to shift the dice a little bit. But like something needs to be done to these guys when they show up, because, or be prepared that you're just going to take some damage. Like spread your guys out. Don't group your whole link team on the rooftop, because if he lands on the ground behind the building and then walks up the stairs and goes, all right, I'm here to die.
Yeah, have somebody watch the stairs.
With the template?
Yeah. It's little things like that. Have somebody watching the stairs. Have someone with eyes on, even if it's like your order monkey that's not really watching like the far side of the board, but he's watching that 12-inch like parachutist strip on your half of the table. Like it's little things like that, you know what I mean? Where you've got someone with an eye on that edge. So there's no completely safe spot for the Onion to walk on. It's not about a perfect solution. It's make him make choices.
Even the crappiest of ballistic skills or the crappiest of guns, if it's a free shot, it's a free shot. If they come in the side episode.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this guy's, he's made out of paper. Jump. He's got no armor. Like you're gonna shoot him and he's gonna die.
Yeah. But you're almost forcing the combat jump then. Which then is it's fixed phys 11, right? So he's not getting that 14 for the combat jump, which means he's less likely to stick wherever it is he goes.
If you see that Camille Evo hacker though, be aware you might get hit real hard by a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, that's true. The Camille, the Evo hacker, that would be a good like alarm bell. Is if you see an Evo hacker in this list, he's probably got 3 Yanyans.
Yep. So yeah, that's Qapu Khalqi. They don't have a ton of them, but I think those 3, you're going to have a mixed link or like a cheapo kind of defensive link. You're going to have an offensive Harris with an Azrael, and then you're going to have like left and right hits. You're going to have Yuan-Yuans, you're going to have Al-Hawaz, and you're going to have Bashi Bazooks. Things that are not going to try and like overpower you mechanically. They're just dirt cheap, and they're there to do a job. The Al-Hawaz is going to go push the buttons for him, so his big link will never come forward. You'll have to go dig him out. And the Yuan-Yuans and the Bashi Bazooks are going to get into your deployment and mess you up. Like they're going to try anyway, but that's why you got to try and stop them.
Yeah, and the Bashis, if there are Bashis, are going to probably take out your mine network if you have any mines.
Or they're going to walk in from the side and put down EM mines beside you.
Yeah, or do it to you. Yeah.
Or that Breaker Pistol +1 burst. I love Breaker Pistol +1 burst. He's my favorite.
You can looking at this list again, I was like, oh my god, you could take like a 7 parachutist Camille list, and those 7 parachutists would only cost you 84 points. You could have 7 parachutists and then add a Camille, and you're at 100 points spent, and you've got literally you could coordinate everybody to walk on different sides of the board.
Well, they're all irregular too, so they're all just going to use their own orders and just show up.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they don't even care.
Just for anyone who is playing this faction is aware, the latest iteration, or I say latest, but whatever the current iteration is, the Yuan-Yuans do not get their impetuous when they come in.
No, because it's after they've generated the impetuous, if they would have generated already.
It used to be that you could come in with the impetuous and then have your irregular, but that's not the case anymore.
Well, whichever one you used to come in with, like if you come in during the impetuous step, you don't get your irregular. If you come in with your irregular, you don't get your impetuous. So it's kind of like a 6-1, half dozen the other, because of when the orders generate now. So yes,
there was a time when you got both, but not anymore. But still, horrifying threat for so cheap, because they're gonna just trade their lives. Like they're gonna come in and they're gonna go, did I kill anything in your list? High fives, everybody. We did great. Like
it's 99 points for 3 Yanyans, 4 Bashis, and a Camille, which is hilarious. Yeah. And they just take 8 points of beef.
When you go to play a game and there's a Qapu Khalqi and you're like, who the hell plays Qapu Khalqi? And you're looking at the list and you're trying to remember what they do. And you go to the medium and the heavy infantry and you're like, oh man, that's 5. That's an MSV link. That's a mimetism adhesive launcher link. Like, oh, that's another MSV link with regeneration. Oh, those are really scary. Look at the Azrael, and you'll forget that the 8-point guy with the chain rifle is going to be in your deployment killing your guys.
Gonna start raining men.
Yeah.
Just fucking raining men everywhere.
Well, that's Qapu Khalqi. That's my opinion on it.
No, I like it, and yeah, I think that's really good advice. Watch your corners, watch your parachutes entries, make sure there's a guy on the stairs, spread your link teams.
Be on different levels if you can,
mhm.
because sometimes they'll drop right in the middle and just go for it.
We didn't talk about how to take apart the fire team, especially Azrael. Azrael, I think, has some mechanical issues too that we could talk about real quick just before we end this one off. Though he doesn't like mimetism, he doesn't like fighting inside of his suboptimal range bands. That's really it. Like if you give him mimetism guy to fight, he only has a good range band and BS 13 and like a decent amount of burst. So if you mod stack against him or you smoke,
I would just say he's scary on his active turn. He is much less scary on his reactive turn.
Absolutely.
So like treat him, and I'm gonna make like an assumption that people who are playing this game and are listening to this, like you get the idea of like you're better than the enemy on their attack. I'll definitely call it out if there's specific things like the idea of this series. Maybe there's a link that has something very unique above and beyond what a normal link is.
Mm-hmm. So like you can't do that to Jan's bands though, is what I was gonna say, is that they all have MSV too, right? So that's why I was just calling it the as in particular as being
he doesn't have it. Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair. But I'm thinking of things like people who have mimetism and MSV in links, because we're gonna come to that eventually, because there's a bunch that have that now.
And well, then vice versa, Jan's bands don't like Mirror Ball, they don't like Eclipse, and they don't like Albedo and White Noise. Right. It's a great way to hunt them down.
They're very expensive.
That's what Havses are for, right? If you're gonna take that link, Havses make that link cheap.
Yeah, one Jambazan with 2 Havses is really what you want, just because that one guy is gonna sit there and he'll be a problem. Like, did you depend on smoke in any way? Well, this guy's gonna sit there with his AP sniper rifle for 31 points and half a SWIC, and he will always shoot you. And he'll just start standing, because even if you kill him, he's armor 3.
He regenerates.
You better finish him off, because he's either going to risk the regeneration or his Gulam doctor friend, who's surely going to be around, is going to come see him. But I usually just see him regenerate. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But
sorry, we got stuck on the drop troops because they're so exciting. So I wanted to make sure we called it the.
Well, I wanted to get stuck on them because they're the thing, like
the weird thing. Yeah.
You're playing a Sectorial. They've probably got a link. Like, watch out, there's a Jambazan link, is an MSV link. That's scary. Azrael, very scary.
Very scary.
I'm gonna kill anything gun. But the trick here, the thing that you gotta be aware of, is they have this in the same way that the Sunduck butt in the other list is the trick. Like, this
the punch you don't see coming.
You're not gonna, and that's the idea of this, is like, what's the thing that's gonna kill you when you go to play against this faction, because it's outside of what you're normally gonna deal with when you play somebody.
Unique threats. Got it.
And with that in mind, let's talk about Assassin Bahram.
There we go. What do you think, Dan? What's the thing? What's the thing in Assassin's Bahram that Assassin's Bahram does? Is it in the name?
So, I mean, they have McMurrow. They have...
McMurrow.
Don't forget, because it's a big deal that they have McMurrow. Yeah, Fides.
If you're not prepped for McMurrow, even if you are prepped for McMurrow, it's he's a brutal first turn or second turn rocket. He doesn't care if he dies. He just goes and he trades up so easily. Fides will just ruin your day if you don't deploy properly. And you get the 2 Sunduck butts in this one, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The double Sunduck butt combined with all the other camo markers to make it a shell game.
They also get Daylami.
That's what the Daylami, yeah. So like the Sunduck butt Daylami combo, I haven't seen anyone else play it, but man, is it brutal to play against.
Because even when you know,
you're like,
if you don't know, then you know.
Those are the 3 that stand out in your mind, or the 2 I should say, or 3, Fide, McMurrow, and the Sunduck butt.
Yeah.
What about you, Ash? What is the things in this list?
So it's if we're gonna go off of your metric here of like what are the things that you may not think that this group can do. I
So
would say
consider
that
you've never played against assassins,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the idea.
Yeah.
What's the thing that they're going to pull out on you
that you're gonna be
you're
like, what is this?
that is somewhat unique to them that
this
like they do different?
so the Barid is an oppressive hacker. If you
Oh,
have
yes.
any type of like if you have a hacking net and you're like very proud of like your hackers and you lean on them, like things if you're playing a nomad list, like for instance with like Jazz and Billy or Zoe and Pywell, if you just have like hackable heavy infantry, Assassin's Barid are like shockingly good hackers for their point values. And so you don't typically think of like small point value hackers as being like super dangerous. These guys are
And you
going to
get
be
hit by
linked,
that
so they're going to
with
have 6
14
cents.
Trinity -3.
Yeah, you're going to get Trinity at -3, which is a absolute nightmare. They all have pitchers. They're going to be in a fire team, so even like the like the shooting of the pit and pitchers, by the way, are grenade launchers that still have a +3 for range bands at 16, which is obnoxious. So you combine that with like a big fire team, or even just bonus burst, and they usually land the pitchers wherever they want them to go. Yeah, watch out for Barids. If that guy says he's got a Barid, and you're gonna know because they're open information, these Barids, you need to have that guy die if you have something in your faction that is hackable. They are not great. So yeah, watch out for your hackers getting killed by the killer hacker Trinity. And then even just the basic hacking advice guys just oblivioning the hell out of you. They're a terrifyingly cheap and effective hacker. So if you haven't played against Mutts, I mean, Mutts were oppressive in N3. It's not really useful information for you guys now. They're still really, really dangerous. And
This
they're still
faction
really
also
pumped.
has MSV2 linkable and smoke in itself.
In itself, yeah.
Always be
Those
aware
things
of the smoke MSV2s. That's one
but
of them.
I was just gonna say that the Mutawas have access to jammers. A lot of people have access to jammers now, but they have a 6-point jammer. That's impetuous irregular. They can have 4 of these if they want. They can also have access to smoke and Emirats.
Is the bigger one these days.
Well, all 3 of these things. It's basically EM or Oblivion warfare in a cheap warband troop. So like you look at a cheap warband troop and you go, oh, that guy's not so bad. He's just a chain rifle. He's also probably got something else. So identify what that guy has that might be a problem for your particular army, because whichever one it is, whether it's that Emirat or it's a jammer, if he's got 4 of them, maybe one of them is one with smoke grenades. Identify what the rest of them are carrying, because they might have a weapon that is going to just completely fuck up your day, which you don't expect from like a 5-6 point warband. I think the other stuff is like relatively well known, which is things like the Fide. You see a McMurrow, you know what a McMurrow does probably, because he's across a lot of factions. But those would be I guess the last one's Delamis. You're going to see a whole pile of nondescript camo markers potentially with no mimetism. It's a shell game. Assume they're all dangerous. The ones that are standing up could be anything. If it's Owen, it's mind games, and the ones that are standing up
be standing.
They're all going to be standing up. Exactly. You need to have a way of dealing with that. And I'll let Owen agree or disagree with me, and then we'll talk about how to deal with that stuff, because I also have opinions on all that. Did I call it anything that you were going to call it?
100%. I just think you guys didn't go all the way, because you didn't call out any of the link shenanigans that they have going on.
Sorry, so you redefined. You kind of redefined.
I did.
It's the like. So I was stopping with that top line stuff. You can call that stuff out, but I was going with the like, what does this do that nobody else does?
For sure, they have one of those specialty links that does something that most links don't do.
Oh, is this that link that with a +4 deployment?
They also have that, but that isn't the one I'm talking about. It's
the other one, Dan.
Yeah, it's the other one, and it's the Bakhtar teaming up with Lassise. This is a 3-man team that is horrifying, because they've all got either climbing plus or super jump, and are very quick. They've all got mimetism, and the Bakhtar as like a spearhead. He's not the best heavy infantry that they have, because they also have the Asawira in this faction,
and I hate him.
But he's bioimmune. He's 2 wounds. He's mimetism. He has MSV1, so he gets past all the smoke stuff that you might do to defend yourself, and he offsets any debuffs. And then he's armed potentially with a viral rifle. And
That's the one that remember when there was a suppressing guy that my first day with my Zeta killed my Zeta on my Zeta's active turn while suppressing? It was this guy. I failed all my armor saves and just went completely to dead. And I was the one on the active turn. It was absolute shit show.
First shot of a carbonite was an enemy McMurrow stepping out to throw smoke, and Sundukbud woke up and made him make 9 armor saves. And they just killed McMurrow because viral is scary. Viral is a weapon that, like, it shows up here and there, kind of sprinkled in other factions. Viral is like the bread and butter of like a third of the scary profiles in Hassas and Bahram. Viral, for those of you that aren't aware, is instead of making an armor save, if you get hit successfully by a viral weapon, you make 2 saves using your BTS as your defensive stat.
Well, the Bakhtar is not by immune. Sorry, he's immunity shock. I mixed that
there
one
you
up.
go. But his dodge +3, dodge +2, so he dodges on 16s as well, and he moves 4 inches when he does it. But yeah, so this guy teamed up. Now he's expensive, so like, and this is where I find the Bakhtar, McMurrow, Fidesz, Al-Jabel, Sundukbut, Asawira, Yara Haddad, Muyib and Govad link, which is also a terrifying link because they have 2 TAC-awares, they have MSV, they have number 2 bioimmunity, dogged, MSV, veteran, and every type of weapon. And they can be a 5-man pure link. Like the list of, and then you've got the Delamis and the Ghazis, and you still have Lasiques who are mimetism, climbing plus, viral everything. Viral sniper, viral rifles, viral marksman rifles, viral rifles with X visors and bonus damage. This list, like, you don't know what the combination of crazy crap is going to come out of it. So when you go to play against assassins, it's like, so it could be a Sundukbut, could be 2 Sundukbuts, could be 2 Sundukbuts and McMurrow and 2 Fidesz. Could be 2 Fidesz, could be 1 Fidesz, could be 2 Fidesz and
probably going to be McMurrow, 2 Sundukbuts, and 2 Fidesz. Like,
that's
those
how
are
I do it.
Some combination, but it's some combination of those things is incredibly common. So if we're taking this from, like you said, the point at which you're going to pick one of your 2 lists, being able to deal with like assaulting warbands like Ghazis or McMurrows, peeling back as much camo as possible without getting killed. So like smokes and sensors for all that like Sundukbut / Delami garbage, and then figuring out how to deploy so that whatever your most vulnerable piece is doesn't just immediately get scalped out by 2 impersonation markers.
Or Harris is led by super soldiers.
Which again,
the Asawiras are a standout.
And the Bakhtar,
Yeah, the Bakhtar, I think the Asawira is actually more of a standout than the Bakhtar because he does it for so cheap.
Yeah, and you can just duel him to keep him sane.
He just joins the Harris because the Harris he can join anything. He's a wild card. What do you want to bring? 2 Barids? A Barid and a Gulab? Like, this was the case I was trying to make before, where like, so if I told you that we were going to play, now you know what I like playing. And so you have an idea that, yeah, he's going to have McMurrow, he's going to have Sundukbuts for sure. He's probably going to have Fidesz. But you could play somebody who doesn't like all of those things or doesn't collect 2 Sundukbuts because you have to buy 2 $50 boxes to get individual models. You could end up playing against somebody who's got a 5-man team of MSV, X visors, and TAC-aware and mine layer with viral mines, tag teaming another Harris of super cheap, super heavy infantry, and still have the Fidesz. Like, they're all there. And so like my advice if you're playing against Bahram is sort of what Ash was saying. I think the biggest thing that'll slow a Hassas and Bahram player down is other people who have cheap disposable infantry. If you have a list that has like throwaway chain rifles and things like that, or you have
or super heavy flamers and chain rifles, you know what I mean? They can also, like a 2-wound guy that can take a hit and still take down that warband guy.
You gotta be a 2-wound guy with a good BTS. That's the only thing. Because like because they're gonna trade crappy guys for your good guys. That's the thing that I'm thinking. Like you wanna meet their wave of like cheapos with your own wave of cheapos. So like if my Delamis are throwing Panzerfaust at you, you're throwing a chain rifle at him. That's the mentality that I'm thinking.
What I'm saying is that you can swing the pendulum the other way too if you need to, because your faction might not have cheapos. Like you don't have the choice of necessarily doing that. So how do you do that in your own way with your own faction? And sometimes that could be you're throwing templates with a guy that can actually just take that first wound and still be standing. Or you're using mines instead of guys, right? You're deploying out mines that are standing in for those cheap disposable troops and blocking or trapping those warbands.
Yeah, those are options too. But yeah, the biggest, I think, if I had to pick three, it's like three duos almost. Like rather than like three standout models that are it's Sunduck Butts teamed up with Daylami, who are really obnoxious.
Yep.
It's
because you got to guess which one of these templates is going to, or which one of these markers is going to be it.
It's McMurrow teamed up with Fides because they complement each other. Because the Fides solves things that solve McMurrow, and McMurrow does the same for the Fides.
Yeah.
And then the last one is just a mechanical powerhouse in a 3-man group.
Yeah,
whatever
being
variant
like
it's going to be.
The sweep and clear team that comes in after that wave of stuff.
Yeah, like is it going to be Asawira teamed up with insert whatever he wanted to go with? Is it going to be a Bakhtar with Lasiks? Or is it going to be some mix of Goveds and Muyibs doing their job? And they still have Yara Haddad.
I would say it's going to be whatever those hitting pieces are combo with the Brids. That's my version of that, right? Because it's the hitting piece like tied in with the Brids, because it means that if they never even get up and come and fight you, the Brids are doing fighting. They're doing like the e-warfare, you know what I mean? Yep. And then the hitting piece is there to defend them, and then do a turn 3 sweep and clear, start getting up and fighting.
Yeah. But that's one of my things. Like I've played against Assassin Bahrams a lot because every time I go to an event, I play every Assassin Bahram player, and they're all wildly different. Like I haven't played against my own list yet, and I've played probably 12 games against other Bahram players who have in turn played wildly different lists each time I've played against them.
So there's some things that Bahram doesn't like. They don't like visors, because they tend to lean into smoke with the Ghazis and the even the Fides, once they've revealed themselves, like to throw smoke grenades.
Yep.
They don't love visors. They, like you said, they don't love other warbands. They don't love because they don't bring a lot of armor. Their hitting pieces do, but the backups to the hitting pieces and all their support pieces don't tend to bring a lot of armor. So like outside the Sonic Butt and the like lead pieces in like a fire team, so like the Asawiras and the
Bakhtar and the AR, though
the AR,
he usually goes solo, but and by
usually you're not running a ton of armor, so it means that they can suffer to things like rockets, like face-to-face templates they don't like a lot, and then also whatchamacallit, also just like direct template weapons.
Yeah, direct template. Everybody get all shotguns being template weapons. I mean, they get that benefit too for being Haqqislam. But yeah, like I think if you have cheap guys that can trade, or if you can bait the person you're playing against, like if you've deployed and you're playing a list like you're playing Neoterra. Neoterra doesn't trade well. Like they have really good guys, and that's what they get. Like they don't have here comes the 10 Ghulams, or here comes
they have auxilias. They have a few like kind of standard trade pieces, but you're right for the most part.
But even their cheapo auxilias are like 18 points or 15 points. Like they're still more expensive than 2 Daylamis. But for them, they can go, all right, he's gonna come and kill something, but that's what the left hook's for. Like I need my right hook to go out and reveal his shenanigans. What is it that I'm running into in this list? Because he's deployed now, and he's got McMurrow back there, and he's got his 2 smiley faces, and there's a couple camo markers. Because I've also, one of my lists baits a Sunduck Butt with 2 Daylami that just stand near each other. So when you go to measure their infiltration, you only measure the 20 inches for forward deployment, and then you put them within 8 of each other, and you're like, could be anything.
One thing I will say about Assassins is they tend to be fairly forward facing, and they tend to have a really good short game and a really like rough endurance game. So they when I say forward facing, what I mean is they don't have a lot behind their deployment line that can survive like a deployment zone attack or AD troops or parachutists if you get the active turn on them. So if you have access to that stuff, they are tending to trade out quickly, and that means that their endurance game's low because they're willing to trade pieces, and they're trying to trade at a higher rate than you. So having like holdback pieces like hidden deployment and parachutists and waiting for the second, like your first active turn, and kind of like weathering a storm.
Things like yuan-yuans are a great solution.
They sure are. Yeah, yuan-yuans, any type of like lateral attack, assassins don't tend to love, because like they're in your face and in your half of the table usually by the end of the first turn. There's not a lot waiting around in their end. So if the mission revolves around like getting to their half or holding like 3 zones, it's kind of an uphill fight for assassins because they overextend really fast. It's in their nature, right? They start deployed forward a lot of the time. They push forward with like warbands. McMurrow goes on rampages, and the Fidays like are in your deployments at the start of the game. So they have kind of like a weak rear armor, if you will. And then because their hitting pieces tend to be paired with like lighter pieces, if you can get to that lateral attack, you can usually scalpel at the thing that's giving them the burst bonus or giving them 6 cents or whatever.
So Dan, you've played against these iterations of lists that I've played. Ash has not. How do you feel? How do you fight Bahram?
I played against Jordan's version of your list. I haven't played your list, but I played against assassins a lot recently.
I think
and we send up what says he on
min minus 6 is really good typically, because there's not a lot that can. I mean, you have to protect against the Fidays and McMurrow, right? But if you can survive the Fidays and McMurrow, then anything that's like min minus 6 can really fight super well against all the Delamis and all the Sundak butts. It can really clear out all these standing markers, kind of thing. Just because it's like the mod stacking is just horrific when it's like -9 to their attacks, and they're like, eh. So it's, and then with that is if you like basically if you have hidden deployment min minus 6, that you can survive the first turn and then come out, and then having guys that can take a hit that aren't afraid of the Fidays so much, that'll like in 012, like the Raptor is a pretty good example. Like the Raptor with his Oxbot or whatever his guy has, like the heavy flamethrower and just like armor 3, 2 wounds. The Fiday doesn't really want to get into that or go anywhere near that. So that's kind of good to put on your flanks, protecting your other things. It's a rough go either way, but it's just kind of making it difficult for the assassin player to take you apart and try to. You don't want to play his game. You want to play your own game and force him into doing that. And that's where I found success against Owen's lists.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep. But as far as potential avenues of being hit, this one's pretty varied. They have ways to get in your deployment. They've got camo, they've got infiltrators, they've got warbands, and they also have some scary links. So if you're playing against them, you'll kind of figure out as soon as you've deployed what it is you've run into. But if you have like, use the terrain to your advantage if you can. Really limit the ways that the Fidays and McMurrow can come at you without getting some vision against them. Total reaction stuff is great. Like Dan said, hidden deploy mimetism stacking guys are good because they can get in there and challenge the sea of mediocre troops. And that'd be the best I would start with.
My last line would be whatever your obvious lieutenant list is, take the other one. So
yeah,
like if you have an obvious lieutenant list, or whichever list you have that has like 2 to 3 potential lieutenants, take that one. Don't take the one where this is the alpha. Or take the one where take the that's actually that was my second argument. Or take a lieutenant option who's just like not gonna die to a Fiday. Right? If your lieutenant's a tag, or if your lieutenant's a Achilles, he doesn't care about a Fiday. Like, go for it. Come on, let's fight. Like, whatever you want. Eat a flamethrower, or eat a, like if you do a wound on me, great. I don't really care.
Yeah, could go that
I
route.
would also say if you go second, then you kind of have some idea how they deploy it. But if you go first, be really wary of how they can deploy to screw you on your first turn when you activate. Like don't be overconfident when you deploy first, because they will aggressively deploy against you.
I would almost say, in the rare exception of this game, let them have the first turn, but make them deploy before you do. Because they can get really nasty if they know where all your models are. Like if you've had to put down your link and you've put down your guys, he's like, just put this little smiley face on the rooftop with your whole group.
Yeah,
I'd almost always
if you
activated them.
I'd almost always pick deployment against assassins.
But that's a unique thing, right? Many games you don't want to go second, right?
Definitely.
Like,
yeah.
Like usually
you might not be going second either. Like there's some missions assassins might not choose to go first, right? Like you very often made a Bahram list where you don't want to go first. So, but if you win the initiative roll, choosing deployment over choosing initiative is, you might still end up going first, but making them deploy first is a huge advantage.
Yeah, if there was anything, that would be another point, and that's a good one for there, Dan, because like, yeah, it's much harder for them to be able to play the game of trying to screw you on your first turn if
they don't know where you are.
If they don't know where your groups are going to be. They can guess like, oh, that building's probably where you're going to go, but
well, at least one. If he's got 2 Fides, at least one of those Fides is going to be down already.
Exactly. And if he's got his Sunduck Butts are already deployed or his camo markers are already deployed, you can see what they can see. But if he goes second and he goes, I'm willing to put a guy right here looking at you and we can both die together.
Yeah, picking deployment against Bahram is a big FU.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Cool. That's Bahram. Pick deployment. Might help. And then finally we have the like vanilla Haqqislam, the Haqqislam as a major faction.
The mix and match.
Yeah, so this one, and this is going to be a hard one for every major faction, like out of the 6 basically.
I think we just call it the repeats to start off with, right? Because there are some repeats from the first 3.
Yeah, and all the links go away with one
except
exception.
One, a really important one
is the Magariba Guard combo.
Actually, 2, because the I think you can do the Asawira still in this too. You can still do the Asawira, which is huge
because it gets rid of his frenzy downside. Yeah, fair enough. But Bereeds are back. You've got and I guess the things that they can also add, the little, you might not see this coming, having described all these other things, is the twins, Zamira and Zulieka.
Well, the Coom Riders.
The Coom Riders, because they show up in this faction and they're not in any of the other sub factions.
And they can really surprise you. These guys can be shocking.
These are McMurrow Juniors, where
they sure are.
They're not McMurrow. They're not going to do what McMurrow does, but they're going to come at you real fast and they're going to kill themselves and trade up points because they're ridiculous. Zoyeka, or not Zoyeka, it is Zamira is the one that I think is the scarier of the 2. Zoyeka is also
with her
amazing.
Berserk EM close combat weapon and Fist 13.
Yeah,
and CC22.
The dodge into line of sight on a 13 and then Berserk 14 inches with an EM weapon. don't bring Lieutenant Tag.
Yeah. Berserking 14 inches is insane because she berserks on her motorcycle and fights you.
If they're
fucking nuts.
If they know that you brought Lieutenant Tag, like I would go so far. If you're playing Haqqislam as the vanilla Haqqislam force, don't bring your tag list. Just don't. They have too many tools. They have too many good hackers. They have Bereeds that'll kill your hackers. And they have just like a smorgasbord of like throwaway infantry that are going to trade their lives better than that tag can fight. I would not bring it. I would bring your list that has a lot of medium and like fighty troops. Bring MSV because they have smoke everywhere. If you have some close combat guys that have MSV, bring them because they also have a bunch of people that'll try and engage you, even if it means just stopping you from going on your rampages. And it's the greatest hits from the other 3 groups. The Sunduck Butt is back and he will always be there. The Magariba Guard combo is there. The Fides are there. And now you've added the Coom Riders as opposed to McMurrow. The Jambazans are back with MSV2. The Nafatin are around. You might see a Lieutenant Nafatin So if you ever see just a random guy with a flamethrower hanging out, kill that guy. It's probably their lieutenant if it's not Saladin.
Yeah, it's not solid. I will say that you don't even need to dodge in the line of sight with Zamira. There's some shenanigans you can do just having like a regular guy on a corner looking at the thing you want to berserk into, driving her up behind him, and then moving him out of the way so then she has line of sight. There's a
Oh, I
bunch
see
of
what you're
like
saying.
you don't even have to make dice rolls. Like there's a bunch of silly things you can do with a
She stands
that
behind the
berserk off now.
Magariba guard as the Magariba guard kind of shimmies out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just shoots out of the way and launches this EM close combat missile. Watch out for the bikes because the Coon bikes only exist in this faction, and they
If
are
you're, yeah, I
dirt
think if you're
cheap.
playing, if you're seeing somebody who's playing this faction, it's kind of the draw here is because they're here.
Yeah, over the others. Haqqislam, especially if you do see vanilla Haqqislam, there's two draws. The Kum are the unique thing, but I think that the mix and matching, being able to get Fidesz and a Maggie, being able to get a Sundic butt and a Azrael.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the versatility of mixing and matching, plus you get a little dusting of insane bike people on top of like insane biker gang on top of it.
Yeah. It's hard too because I can't say like, oh, watch out, like bring this sort of thing to deal with it. But kind of take all of the things that we described in the sectorials, and they all apply here. The only thing you don't have to fight when they're playing the vanilla one is any of the link powerhouses. So you won't have to play against the Rama's beefed up Zayadin sniper, or you won't have to do like a Bakhtar being surrounded by hackers and viral weapons, and you won't have to deal with Asura links or Asawira links rather. Instead, you just get to fight a sea of probably middling strength guys backed up by a few super soldiers.
I mean, and like murder bikes and like Fidesz. It has its own draw for sure.
Yep.
All blended together with like a dusting of mercenaries, because that's the thing you always get in vanilla, is you can end up with like random mercenaries and stuff as well.
Again,
well, we did it.
We talked about this way back when, though. I wouldn't worry as much about the mercenaries because Haqqislam, of all of the factions, doesn't need its mercenaries.
Yeah, it has people that do these jobs already.
Yeah, but yeah, we did it. We made it to the end. Bullet points
for
the end.
This is good. I like this. Yeah, no, I like this. I liked the what is the deconstruction of like the things we did before. It's like a deconstructivist like look at the faction, as opposed to doing like how do you play this? It's like a how do you look out against it and play against it. I think this is a cool series and a good idea. So thanks for coming up with it.
I think I would clarify the only thing I'm going to say for links, because they're going to come up a lot more if we continue to do more of these.
Yeah.
The to be really precise about, or at least more precise, every faction, every sub-faction has its links. Everybody has it. But some factions have
fire teams for those in N4,
yeah.
Sorry.
Every sub-faction has its fire teams, but some sub-faction fire teams have a thing that puts them above just like the base stats that you're going to get out of it. And the things in my mind that stand out are a combination of both mimetism and MSV, marksmanship in the link, or cost.
Or Sixth Sense combined with something too. I think Sixth Sense combined with hacking, Sixth Sense combined. There's a few other like little tricks.
I'm saying my three, those are the ones that will get like special mention.
Sure.
Combining everyone can get a hacker in a link. Everyone can get like a couple of different abilities.
But not Trinity -3 hacker. You know what I mean? I was gonna say it's a combination of the fire team bonus with either a skill or equipment piece that you don't normally get.
But yeah, that for sure. Like, so those big three of a combination of both mimetism and a visor in a link, a marksmanship link, or the sheer cost versus value. And like that's why the Azrael one I think stands out, because the Azrael is like a cool model, but he's basically just a heavy infantry with a good gun. And there's a couple of those guys out there.
His bonus skills though, like plus damage plus continuous damage, are the big like, oh, hang on, you're not just beef.
Yeah, I guess I think I look at it because he's under 70 points for his link. That's what
Sure.
makes him so scary, is that you can do it for so cheap and also get that big scary guy. That's all. Fearbach +1, I guess, should get a mention every single time it comes up.
It's a real good gun.
Every link that has a 4-burst Fearbach is worth noting.
But when it's a 4-burst +1 damage continuous fire Fearbach,
Even more
it
so.
gets into an extra level of just, it doesn't matter what I just hit, it's probably gonna die.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because it came, we kind of talked about it on and off. So like anyone who can do both, that would be, I guess, climbing plus and super jump are probably worth bringing up too.
Sure, yeah, being able to plunging fire, get to angles you can't normally get to. That's why I was just gonna say it's combining the mechanical advantages of a fire team with a unique combination of skills and equipment. Because to me, that's when
That
we
isn't
call it out.
just
That isn't
line
just
troopers
like
walking around.
yeah, because like to me, MSV and mimetism are fairly common skills, but like continuous damage +1 damage are not. So that's, to me, that's the thing with the Azrael. It's like, yeah, his point value is efficient and stuff as well, but this guy's a guy that when he hits you, he's literally dropping the sun on you, and you're not walking away from it.
I meant guys
and when that
both.
happens to you, you're not expecting it. It's not a thing you see in another faction. So if the point of this faction guy is to call out things that are like uniquely dangerous or like that you wouldn't normally see anywhere else, that feels like the fact that he's carrying the Hammer of Dawn feels fairly significant.
I'm saying the guys who have both of those skills at the same time, who have mimetism and an MSV on the same guy.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
the call it.
I'm just saying that to me, that falls into like a unique blend of skills and equipment plus being in a fire team.
Sure. Yeah. Are you gonna say that?
And if you guys think we've missed anything, go on our Discord and let us know.
That's right. Hit us up with your favorite Haqqislam greatest hitters and what you would do to counter them. What your not necessarily what your faction does, but what you think in general people should do to try and take it apart. Because the whole thing here, if you're going to be deconstructivist, is to look at it and go like, no, nothing infinity's unbeatable. There's nothing that doesn't have its bad day, as Owen just discussed in his games last week. You can have a bad day with Starco.
My perspective was more like, I hate gotchas. I hate it when you lose, not because you made like bad plays, but because you didn't know that it was a bad play.
Yeah,
so
you didn't understand the combination.
Let everyone go out there and find your way to like overcome these things. For me, it's like, watch out for the drop troop. Van Zant walks in from behind. Bolts are linkable and add marksmanship. Atalanta's a model. Like, these are all the things
Atalanta's a model.
Like, you will remember every time you run into all of these little guys who can do this.
I remember.
Like
Pepper's
everyone
remembers.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like, but you didn't know beforehand. So you go to play that game, Dan, and you're like, what does that model do? Oh, she's a sniper and she has MSV and total reaction and marksmanship.
Yeah.
And
The point of this is to not feel powerless, and for people to not feel powerless going into it, like they had some concept of what that army was going to do. And I think there's a lot of models and in every faction that are worth having this discussion about.
Absolutely.
Where you're like, what does this guy do? What?
Wait a second. You're telling me the dog walks in from my deployment?
And his sister's there too? Like,
and
what?
She has a grenade launcher?
And she's as good as my heavy. What is happening right now?
Yeah. So like things like that are all over the place throughout the game, but they only show up usually once. Everybody's got their piece, or sometimes 2 or 3 pieces that are problems. And the point of what I was talking about here is like, don't get caught by that. And we're doing easy ones right now, in my opinion. Like, most folks are going to know these things, at least for some of these. New players, not as much, but most regular players. And we touched on it very briefly in the previous episode, but like, the fuck does our Kari company do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's kind of the power of these N2As. They're kind of dark horse combos that you don't see coming. And I think that's still, people are still peeling back those layers. And to me, that's half the fun of Infinity, is finding new, like maybe not as efficient or obvious versions of this, but then leaning into it and finding an interesting combination.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the idea. The idea is don't get caught by something that you didn't see coming. Have a chance. Still lose, but at least you knew.
Make good choices. Still lose, but make good choices. That's the idea. And at least feel like you had some control over it. Sweet. Yeah. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thanks. So what's the one we're going to do next? O12? Just keep doing this in the same order? Do the 3 that we did? I'm into that.
I think either O12 or ALF.
Sweet. Why don't we do O12 next week and the mailbag? Because that'll fit. We do the mailbag afterwards, because O12 is just going to be 2, right?
I feel like O12 is going to be real short.
That's what I mean.
There's not that much
no,
stuff that's crazy and surprising. That
there's
you
some
have to,
cool
super
shit
worry
in
about.
O12.
There
I
is.
think. Yeah,
There is,
but
it's
I
like
don't think O12
half
plays
hour.
the same game that a couple. Like I think Aleph has more going on than O12 in this perspective.
for sure. Yeah, and there's a newer faction for sure too.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Sweet. All right. Well, O12 next week, and we'll also do the patron mailbag and there's some questions. Sweet. All right. Thanks, guys, and everybody.
See ya.
Bye.